Hello. Today we're going to talk about how to make an in-grain target. I've had several requests from people asking me how I make them, what materials I use, things like that. I thought it'd be easier just to make a video and we'll just show you how I make them. Uh, where I got the idea of how to make this type of in-grain target are through the Russian throwers. Some of the earliest videos I've seen were of Yuri Fedin throwing, and they'll have entire walls made of this stuff. So it's a real versatile. We can make them whatever size we want to. This is the size that I've wound up going with. It gives me around a 20 to 22 inch surface area. Um, and Anyway, the method I use to make these, I do not use glue. I only rely on the pressure of the two uprights using all threads, top and bottom. And then in the back, and we'll explain that a little bit later. I screw a piece of plywood, and each one of these 4x4 end grains are screwed into the backing board. So this is just kind of the introduction of what we're going to do, and let's just get into it, and I'll show you how to make end grain target. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about the materials we're going to be using today. What we're going to be using are two 4x4s, 10 feet long. We're going to use a 2x6, 8 feet long, and then a piece of plywood that is cut to 24 inches by 24 inches. All these things I got at my local Lowe's. You can also get all this stuff from Home Depot, things like that. We will also need two 1/2 inch all threads. Again, I got these at Lowe's. We'll need four 1/2 inch nuts and then four washers. Before we get started, what I'd like to do is discuss a little bit about the different kinds of 4x4s we can get. Now, if you know about American lumber measurements, a 4x4 is not a true 4x4. It's, I think, 3.5 by 3.5. Don't know why. Anyway, so originally, I've always made my in-grain targets using pressure-treated wood. And you can tell that's pressure-treated by these lines that you'll see on the sides of them. The last in-grain target I made, I accidentally got just a regular plain 4x4s, and I was a little bit disappointed. There's several reasons. Believe it or not, the plain 4x4s are a little bit harder. I found a little bit more issues with hard spots, things like that. The pressure-treated wood is interesting. It absorbs moisture a lot better than the non-pressure treated wood. You'll spray these with water and it just drips off. Where the in-grain targets, it's almost like a sponge. I really enjoy using the pressure treated wood. It'll cost about $10 to $12 more for a 10-foot stick. So making in-grain, it is about $20 more. One of the questions will be how much I spent for all the materials. So all the materials that I've showed you here, which will make a full in-grain target, was I think $61. So if I chose to go with just the plain 4x4s, it'd be 40 some dollars. So that's just kind of an option to think about. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, you will also need a box of wood screws, and any kind of drywall screws will work just fine. These are 1 1/4 inch. Now all you need is just to get through the plywood and screw a little bit into the back of the 4x4s, which I'll show you later. And that's the supply list. The things that you'll need is a saw and a cordless screwdriver, and you'll need a 1/2 inch bit to make the holes for your all thread. Then you also need a Phillips screw bit to screw the screws in, of course. All right, so let's just get started and we'll cut everything down and go from there. Okay, so let's get started on making this end grain. What we're going to do is we're going to cut 2x6s to 30 inches long, and those will be our two uprights. Then we're going to make a mark that is 4.5 inches up from one side. And then we're going to find the center of the 2x6. So like I said, the American number is never a full 6 inches, the 2x6. It's actually 5.5. So that's going to be 2 3/4 inches. And that should be our center. And then a 1/2 inch drill bit. Then we want to make a mark that is 22.25 inches from center line of the hole. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut 36 pieces of the 4x4, and what I'm wanting to do is cut each 4x4 to the width of the 2x6. So what I've done is I made a mark on the saw. So all I have to do is just run the 4x4s up to that mark, make the cut. So there's going to be some fast forward stuff from this. Okay, so that took right at 9 minutes to cut that down. I'm going to take a short break here and we're going to get the upright set up to start putting it together. Okay, so we've got all the 4x4s cut to size. We need at least 36 of these, and I've got a few extra cutting it from those two 10-foot pieces of lumber. I've got the two 2x6s with all threads going, 1/2 inch all threads going through it, and it's approximately the size of the target that I will wind up with. Assembling these things, it's really nice to have a table to work on. It's a back saver from having to do it on the floor. So how we're going to assemble this is the good side of the target is going to be facing down. So what I will see as I'm putting this together would be the back side of the target. So why is that important? What I want to do is look at each of the end grains, and I want to make sure that it doesn't have any knots facing, for what I'm going to throw the knife at. These knives will just bounce right off of it. So I have enough that I don't need to worry about that. But I'm going to take a look at each one, and I'm going to put the best side face down. Okay, so now I've got all 36 pieces of the end grain in place. I'm looking at the back side of the target here, and I've got just a few pieces left over. Now what I'm going to do is start kind of tightening this up, do it a little bit at a time. And then it's kind of a smart thing to do, have a rubber mallet, kind of a persuader, so to speak. So the bottom side is closest to me. So I'm going to make sure all the pieces of 4x4 are up tight against the bottom, which will be the bottom all thread. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark that is about halfway in the middle of each one of these blocks on the outside, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to make a grid on the piece of plywood so I know where to put the screws to screw these in. And it doesn't have to be super accurate. It's just kind of an approximation. So I'm going to line up the piece of plywood towards the bottom and then the two sides. So with the piece of plywood lined up on the bottom, I'm going to slide it over to the side here. And then I'm just going to make a mark on the plywood where I mark the halfway point on each one of these 4x4s. Then we'll make mark for the tops and the bottom. And then I'm going to use a straight edge and make a grid. Okay, so now we're ready to screw the backing into each of those 4x4s. The reason for that is as we throw our knives into it and then we pull the knives out, if the 4x4s are not swelled up and tight, they'll just pull right on out. And this will just kind of prevent that. And it'll just keep the targets held together a little bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw the backing board to the uprights just so it doesn't move around on me. after I get done screwing the backing boards into the 4x4s, I'll probably remove these so we can tighten it up a little bit more. This is just to keep it in place. Okay. Okay, so now I've got all the screws in. What I'm going to do is take those two screws that are in the uprights and remove those. And then I'm going to do one last tightening. Okay. So the ingrain target is finished. We're at 27 minutes, and it's really that easy. So one of the things that's kind of nice about using the tightening system of the all threads, since we're not gluing it together, is during the summer, as wood kind of dries out a little bit, it'll shrink a little bit. We can just continue adding that pressure to it. But that brings up something. If you're new to the throwing community and you're new and throwing knives and stuff like that, you really want to wet down your target before each use. I have an inexpensive garden sprayer that I use just to put water in. And before each session, just soak it down a little bit and keep that wet. What it does is it causes those fibers to swell up. Your target will last a lot longer, but it also makes the sticks really nice. And there's something about just a nice soft target that just makes you feel good when you make a good stick. But anyway, let me know if you enjoyed this. Was it informative? Do you want to see more tutorials on things like this? Anyway, I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, just let me know. I will put in the comment section a supply list of everything that I used to make this. And that way, if you choose to make your own ingrain target, you've got a good starting point. It's been fun. And again, I hope you enjoyed it and have a great day.